Moving all my laundry out the way. Okay. Well, hello to another third Friday with B. It's such a catchy time to do it. Third Friday with B. Anyway, here we are, and in my humble dwelling, which I've managed to make look slightly tidy by just not showing anything below waist level. Although you can see this is my shop stock in these boxes here. And this is a quilt that is one of my UFOs, which some of you might recognize. But anyway, so yes, I am going to be working on my Kawandi today. And I might actually, no, that's fine. Okay, so this is something that I started at the San Francisco Quilt Guild retreat, which was last weekend. That's my kind of home quilt guild. And I'm also a member of East Bay Heritage Quilters as well, EBHQ, which covers the East Bay area, which of course is the East Bay of the San Francisco area, there being more than one bay in the world. Um, so Kawandi, you're familiar, um, is basically it looks a little bit like Borrow. It looks a little bit like what's the Japanese, not the Japanese one, the Indian one is I've completely forgotten, but it looks a bit like that as well. It's one of these things where you're using scraps usually, and you're using big or biggish stitching, hand stitching anyway. But with Kawandi, it's all to do with where like tucking in all the raw seams. There's a particular layout that you use, and you kind of create your rows. This is the long side. This is the shorter side. So you can see it's not huge. It's going to be kind of like barely twin bed sized. And I'm using a lime green and dark purple, acid green, really, like this kind of color, acid green, and purple palette, which I got out of my color box. And if I come across the color card, I will show it to you. I know I've posted it on Instagram before. Let me just grab that color box actually, because it is awesome. Here we go. So this is it. It looks very beautiful just in and of itself. It's kind of like a rainbow Rubik's Cube. And then inside, go. There's a huge deck of cards, and I've actually got some that I pulled out recently because I was using it to choose a new color palette for my website and so on, which I'm updating at the moment. So these are some of the cards, and you'll see they've all got a photo and then the color swatches from the photo. And then when you look on the back, it's got the names of all the colors and the hex codes as well, which is really useful. So you can easily, like for instance, I've programmed my brand colors into Canva, which is a image editing tool I use. So you can easily get all the colors, but then it also gives you different values, different shades, as it were, of the colors. So that was a picture of butterfly. Here we've got some strawberry ice lollies, which look rather nice. You can see I was tending towards the pinks with this. This was some, well, what is it? Rosé, very stylized. And a good old flamingo floaty. Very nice with all the colors on the back. So I'll put a link to that in the notes just because it is awesome. And there's actually another one as well. In fact, there was someone at the retreat that had both, and I did mean to look at it and completely forgot. Going on the retreat was amazing. It's the longest time I've spent sewing in years because I hadn't been to a retreat for, I don't know, well, years, I guess, not since before the pandemic. Or not a sewing retreat anyway. Oops, it's come off. Of course, it's a spray bottle. I was recording a video yesterday about making quilt labels. And so since this is where all my like lights and things are set up, I was recording it here. Got to have a live action shot of me ironing with a spray bottle, especially because it's a cat spray bottle. I got it when I was living in Tokyo. Um, I got a jug as well, which I religiously use for watering my plants. Now I'm just trying to work out where, oh, there it is. This is where I left off sewing. So let me turn this around. Here we are. So this is where I left off sewing, and you can see I've done one, two, I'm on the third row of the big stitch quilting. What have I got here? I've got some dyed velvet, which I picked up on our Guild free table. This was a swatch. Actually, no, this was a charm pack, a 5-inch charm pack. This was a fat quarter bundle from years ago. This was also on the free table. It was a piece that someone had sewn together, and I just used the whole thing. This is someone's chemise, which was also on the free table. It's we have a very wide-ranging free table. That was from the Cat's Eye project I did. Excuse me, there's some Ankara fabric or lovely batik there. And this is a gold lame swimsuit that I came across at a clothing swap, which was rather lovely. This is a lovely Japanese uh, complete, honestly, I have the memory of a disabled goldfish or an unwell goldfish. Um, so what do they call it? Thread dye. Is that thread dye? I've forgotten what it's called. Anyway, and this one's upholstery fabric. This one is kind of like a bit of a like a loose weave cotton, but this is the acid green that I just love. I love this. I know Ali Ride does some amazing stuff. Like that's kind of her core brand color. Hers is a little bit more yellow, I think. And then there was this, which is Jersey cotton, which was also on the free table. So yeah, it was, our free tables at our guild are amazing. If your guild doesn't have one, then that's a shame. And you should absolutely have one. And we also do community swaps from time to time, like and just have the free table outside so that anybody can come along on a Saturday and drop off and take away. Now I'm just looking for a tissue. Bear with me. Sniffing away. Okay, right. So I remember that the reason I stopped where I did, oh, this isn't very helpful. I've got it all facing me. I might need to move this slightly. Well, we'll live. Move. Well, can't move that out of the way. Okay, it'll be fine. Anyway, so I had this facing towards me so that the table could carry the weight. And where I'd stopped, I was just about to run out of this pearl cotton that I was using. I'm quite sure that can you see that? Actually, it does show up a little bit. It's a variegated kind of blue and purple pearl cotton, um, which I thought was hand dyed. And I was boldly telling someone that was the case. But actually, when the spool ran out, it revealed the words wonderful underneath. So it definitely wasn't. Um, but it's yeah, it's all been used. I must have had it for gosh, 10 years probably, because I remember I got it originally to echo quilt around a Hawaiian quilt pillow that I had made using a kit from one of the quilt shops on the Big Island. The first time that I got the first time I went there, which was just amazing. I do love Hawaii. One of the huge benefits of living on the West Coast is, well, it sounds silly actually, one of many benefits of living on the West Coast is that you're so much closer to Hawaii. It's only a 5-hour flight away. Whereas when I was living in the UK and wanted to go there, because I grew up watching Hawaii 5-0 and so on, I always wanted to go. And it's more like 30 hours flight. just because you've got to come all the way across America and do a stopover and then get to Hawaii on the other end. So nobody wants to do that. And with Kawandi, I'm just doing big stitch quilting, basically. My stitches are probably about 1/3 of an inch, I guess, just going in and out. And with this one, I've used batting. So what I did is I found an old tablecloth in a thrift store, which seemed to be cotton, and was quite loosely woven. So I knew it would be easy to stitch through, which is a key thing with Kawandi because there's so many layers. But there we go. And then I put a piece of batting down on it and then folded round the tablecloth from the back to the front and just basted it with really big stitches, which I will take out eventually. And then I also went to the trouble of safety pin basting just the 2 layers, the batting and the backing, because what can happen with Kawandi, because you start at the outside and work in, is that you can easily end up with a kind of baggy middle where you've accidentally, your stitch tension was a bit too tight around the outside. Oh, astonishing. Sorry, I'm normally surrounded and inundated by pin cushions, and there wasn't one visible. Here we go. Because if your sewing tension is wrong on the outside, of course, that's going to affect how everything lays on the inside. So when I did my first ever one, my mini one, which actually it's just over here. Let me grab it. Oh, I didn't do the corners. Just realized. I'm terrible. Anyway, here it is. I really loved this. And one of the things I really loved about it was this kind of acidy green color that I had picked up. And so that's partly why I decided to use that in this color palette. And what's this shiny? Oh, that's some sort of lovely vintage brocade fabric, which is probably like only seconds away from bursting into flame because it's so flammable. But yeah, all sorts of things there. So that was my first one. And I did pretty well. It didn't bunch up in the middle, but I knew that with a bigger piece, that was all too likely to happen. And I've forgotten what these corners are called, but these are very traditional. And you add them in on your first round, and I completely forgot. But another thing I really love about Kwandi is you have these patches which kind of stand alone. And all 4 sides are like on top rather than it all being layered. And these are called tickly or tickly. And of course, it sounds like you're ticklish or you're all tickly. So anyway, it's just a small thing, just makes me laugh. And so I am planning to have lots of those. And in fact, I've already got some pulled out that might not necessarily have gone with the quilt color palette, but will be interesting as little pops of color as I go along. So I need to decide what thread I'm going to use once I finish off this purple blue, which is going to happen in the next 2 seconds. Oh, 10 seconds. Incidentally, the pin cushion, do you remember I'm just going to pretend that you're all my best friends. Do you remember the tuffet phase? It was pre-pandemic. I actually have one over there. I won't go and get it. But around the time of the tuffet phase, which I did end up making, and I made it and then remade it because I decided I didn't like the first fabrics I'd chosen. You could get little tuffet pin cushions. It's adorable. It's so ridiculous. A miniature footrest for your pins. And it's got these great big feet on the bottom, which are much better than the feet that came with the tuffet, to be honest. And then it's got a bit dusty. I used a little thread-shaped button to hold it down. And these are all Liberty scraps. Don't know how visible it is. There we go. So they're so small because, with Liberty fabric, you can't bear to throw any away. So each of the little segments of the tuffet is individually pieced. And then I sewed over it with this metallic silver thread and a zigzag just to give it a little bit of a Liberty Frankenstein shimmer. There we go. There's all sorts of things. And this ringing thing, this is a Japanese thing. And I've probably missed the nuances of it, but I bought it when I was living there. And you use these when you're making a kimono or something, but so that you can be sure that you've removed all the pins, I believe is the basis of it. There's another one there. And these were a clover thing. I was just reading about another group trip to Japan that is coming up, which the East Bay Heritage Quilters are organizing. I kind of wish I'd known about the itinerary while I was still living there, because there are some places on there that I haven't been to, and I did have a serious think about whether to join the tour. But the cost is a lot. And then I'm not saying it's not worth it. It's just, it's a big bunch of money when I'm self-employed, and I don't think it's probably what I should be spending a big bunch of money on right now. And also, but having lived there, I feel pretty confident that I would be fine organizing my own trip. Although I wouldn't have all the workshops and things set up for me, I'd have to do some extra work to find out whether it was possible to do those, like as an individual, especially as an English speaking individual, because my Japanese is not very Japanese. So yes, yeah, this is why I was thinking about it yesterday. It would be fascinating to go back. And I know my partner has always wanted to go to Japan and has never been, because when I lived there, I was still with my ex-husband, who is now as well, anyway, I won't talk about him. But yeah, maybe I should tell my partner about it and see, because he also sews. He is mainly on the garment side. But I did notice that there isn't a visit to a quilt show planned. And I know that the Tokyo Quilt Show stopped at one point. I don't know whether that was a COVID thing or a permanent thing or something. But there was another quilt show in, was it Hakone? It's just across the bay. Tokyo also has a bay. It's actually quite similar to San Francisco in many ways. Geographically, it has lots of very old, well, not that many, but a certain number of very old buildings and areas. But then it also has, of course, all the amazingly modern and high-tech buildings. But then it also has an island of reclaimed land, which a lot like Alameda and Treasure Island and so on. And when I was living in Tokyo, there was an amazing onsen on the island in the bay. And it was just, oh, I do miss the onsen. An onsen is basically a bathhouse. And you don't wear any clothes, unless it's a mixed one, of course, then you do. But usually they're divided by gender. And grab my scissors. And you have pools, well, depending how big they are, you have pools of different temperatures that kind of vary by 1 degree each time. And where were those threads? And yeah, you start in one of the more like normal temperature ones, like you might have a bath at, and then gradually get hotter and hotter until you're parboiled. And then of course there's cold pools as well, and there's little washing areas, bamboo washing bowls. Now, which color should I go for? I've got a variety here. There's slightly different weights as well. I think this is a DMC heavier pearl cotton. This one, I think, must be the one I was confused about it being hand dyed. I think this must be the actual one, which is these pink and blue colors. And then I've got these two slightly thinner variegated green ones, which are Valdani cottons, which I remember buying in a little box set when I made one of my English paper pieced quilts and hand quilted that. So I think maybe see, the darker green is lovely, but that's not actually the palette. So I think maybe I'll go with this lilac-y purple. Can you see that? So I think I'll go with that one for now. Let me put the other three away. Some semblance of tidiness, although of course it is really a mirage. And scissors have gone again. One of the things I realized at the retreat was that my sewing table is not big enough. Because at the retreat, we had these enormous, like bigger than picnic tables, like proper. Well, I suppose they were probably 6 foot by 4 foot tables, which I guess is pretty standard. But my sewing table is about 3 feet square, I'm going to say, maybe 2.5. And I've got one of these Dreambox cubes, which the Dreambox, I'll put a link in the notes, but it's basically all shelves and things. I would turn the camera around, but it's, well, I guess I could. It's a bit messy. Well, okay. It's just so demanding. Just don't put my laundry or anything while we're doing that. Here we go. So it's got all these shelves and things around, ignore the lights, and then little ones in the doors, little cubicles, and there's the table here. And of course, there's shelves under the table as well. So there we go. And this, I have a love-hate relationship with this thing. Because it's great. It's very fancy. It was expensive. I bought it when I was still working in tech. But if you need to move house, which following the divorce, I had to do twice. And even before the divorce, I moved house once while we were still together. It is a pain in the butt to move. And you start thinking, like, do I really need this thing? Because it's so annoying. And so I have thought about getting rid of it. But anyway, it comes with a built-in table. And so you are limited. Now you can buy side tables or just put another table at the side. But then you would lose, well, you'd lose convenient access to some of the boxes, but you'd still be able to access them. So I guess it's not really that big a deal. But yeah, I was just thinking about it the other day. I was looking up what their resale value is. And it's actually quite high, so I was kind of pleasantly surprised. What's that? Oh, that's it. But yeah, I don't know. Then I just need to buy a bunch of cupboards and boxes and things to put everything back in. So I don't know that it would actually really help. Although I am hoping to move again soon. We'll see. So you can do Kawandi on a machine, although of course then it's probably not actually Kawandi. You probably shouldn't use the name. You should probably just say something like Kawandi inspired. And it would certainly go a lot faster than it does doing it all by hand. But I always rather like hand sewing. And certainly my evenings would not be the same without a hand sewing project. My cat, who's very confused as to why I'm talking to my laptop. My cat sits on my legs, which I put Lena, rest up on the sofa. She sits on my ankles usually at the furthest possible point, so that she gets to decide whether I stroke her or not. And when she's ready for a stroke, she will approach me and put her head by my knees instead. So I just stroke her head and her chin. I wouldn't have it any other way. Unless, of course, she wanted me to snuggle her up and kiss her and love her and just generally tell her how wonderful she was, in which case I would do that too. So when I did a Kawandi class with another quilter called Judith Epstein, she gave us all a special Japanese needle, which I'm quite sure I have somewhere, but could not find when I started this one. So I decided to just go ahead with, I think this is a chenille needle. So they're kind of embroidery needles with the big eye, but they've also got a sharp point. And I do like them for embroidery, even for things like cross stitch. They're probably not supposed to be used for cross stitch for some very good and technical reason that I am not aware of. But yeah, I always have a packet of them handy. And of course, you can also use them for sashiko as well. Picked one of the longer ones out of the pack just so that I could do a line of stitching. Although, of course, when you are already stitching the tablecloth and the batting, you're also stitching through whatever your fabric is on top. And then often that's doubled from where the seam is. So you can be stitching through a lot of different layers at once. So sometimes you can only really do like one stitch at a time. Like just now I'm sewing through 2 layers of this velvet, dyed velvet, plus the linen underneath, plus the batting, plus the tablecloth. So I'm probably only going to do a few stitches at a time. Actually, it's not going too badly. The joys of a sharp needle. So this is where I am at the moment with my, I need to improve the lighting, I know, but this is my jersey fabric, my linen-ish, and my dyed velvet. And then I've got some lovely, what's it called? I think this might be cherry wood, actually. It's like a warp dyed cotton. Something like that. I have a terrible memory. I used to have a great memory when I was a kid, I think. Didn't mean to make that into a joke, but there we are. But yes, now I am the proverbial goldfish. And that's okay. I just make a lot of lists. If I don't write it down, it doesn't happen. Although, of course, that does sometimes have the counter effect of my brain forgetting about something because it knows that I've written it on a list, and so I don't need to think about it anymore. But then I forget to look at the list. The human brain is constantly amazing. One of the things I find fascinating about having a cat is, I mean, I find her toes fascinating and things like that, obviously, like all cat lovers. But I find it fascinating when she's making a decision. And, you know, like, is she going to jump up or not? Am I going to the kitchen? Is she going to follow me or not? That kind of thing. And I just, what must it be like to be a cat? That's something I've often wondered. I'm sure it won't be that long before AI allows us to inhabit some sort of mental space with our cats. I'm all for it. In my head, she flip-flops between the characters in Pinky and the Brain, if you've ever seen that cartoon, to lab mice trying to take over the world. Pinky was very intelligent and devious and cunning and always planning world domination. No, I've got them the wrong way around. Obviously, the one called Brain was the clever one. Okay, anyway. Got a ton of pins in this thing. And so it is a bit like shaking hands with a hedgehog at the moment. But it does help to keep all the folds folded, because I wasn't ironing it as you go along, because the Siddhi women in India wouldn't be ironing it as they went along either. Plus, I'm a bit lazy about ironing. I generally only use my iron when I'm sewing. It doesn't get used at any other times, but that's fine. Another thing I like about Kwandi is that you can incorporate whatever fabric you want. It doesn't have to be quilter's cotton or cotton. So I'm just sewing through. This is some sort of, well, I think it's a synthetic stretch fabric. I'm not quite sure what it's made of, but maybe polyester or something like that. Very easy to sew through, but because it stretches, it will change shape quite readily as well. So you need to look out for that. Okay, so I'm just trying to bury the end of this thread. Tied a knot in it, and because the tablecloth is quite loose weave, I should be able to bury the end quite easily. Uh-oh. I think the shakedown is about to start. Hmm. So it's out. Don't put needles in your mouth. I never would. But it's just gone 11:30 here and in the morning, and this is normally the time when Charlotte starts trying to persuade me, it's my cat, that I'm hungry and want my lunch. So she has assumed the position, and I fear she may start yowling shortly. Thank you. does seem like Kawandi is having a moment right now. There's an amazing artist who lives very close to me, called Margaret Fabrizio, who's in her 90s now, and actually went out, I believe in her 80s. She went to India with no idea of where she was actually going, and just asked people as she went along, and eventually ended up at this city area of India. It's a fascinating story, actually. Apparently, the women, the city people, were slaves from Africa, in India. So, and they've retained elements of their own culture, of course. I guess not, of course, but luckily. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, Margaret Fabrizio, she gave a talk at the San Francisco Quilters Guild, and told us all about her trek across India from America. Amazing woman, beautiful work, such color and pattern usage and sense. I mean, just extraordinary. And she's often got rainbow hair, very bright clothes. I very much hope that if I live to such an age, I am doing it in the same kind of style. Hmm. Okay. Getting onto a piece of the gold swimsuit. It always seems odd to me that synthetic fabrics can take on creases. Can you see that? Yeah. I mean, there's no reason why they shouldn't, but I don't know, just always surprises me. This, I think I said earlier, this swimsuit came from a clothing swap that was held in Berkeley, near here. It's an event that happens twice a year to honor a woman who I only met once, unfortunately, and just in passing, never got to know, but her name was Jen Angel. And she was very active in various communities. And so now they have this clothing swap in her honor, which is particularly intended to support the sex positive community, LGBTQ plus, trans, everybody. And although I didn't know her properly myself, she left so many people behind who really cared about her. They had a big memorial ceremony in a big building here in Oakland. And I think it's rather amazing to be commemorated by anything, it's normally just the old white guys that get remembered for normally doing something terrible to other populations in historical terms, but I guess making lots of money or something. And so I think it's rather lovely that you have, well, she wasn't an ordinary person, but, you know, nor was she someone that, you know, a presidential decree would go about. She was a community person. I suspect that she, well, I'm sure a lot of people made it clear to her how special she was, but I hope she knew how special she was and had an inkling of that before she died. It was very tragic. She was essentially mugged for, she had a bakery. She was mugged for her takings and died of complications afterwards. Really sad, quite young. But it does make you think. And I last time I was there, there was a framed photo of her and some flowers at the entrance to the clothing swap, which happens twice a year, I think. And it got me thinking, you know, what would I want to be remembered? What would I want to be remembered for? Like, you don't want to be remembered for creating the most divisive country and totaling the economy and screwing up world finance and stuff like that. But I don't think that there's personally a chance of that happening to me. One of the reasons that I feel so strongly about labeling quilts, which is actually what I was making the video about yesterday at this table, is because there's just so many makers unknown. You know, these usually women lost to history because, you know, their work wasn't considered important enough to record, or maybe they didn't think it was important enough to leave a record behind. But I hope all of you are labeling your quilts. And in fact, have I still got it here? Here we are. The video that I was recording, it's for an event that's happening. It's the Quilters Life Summit. I'll put a link. And it's happening at the end of October, towards the end of October. And I've created a page of printable quilt labels. This is one of them. A little bit squashed at the top where I was trimming it. Oh, it's a little run there. Anyway, but you can get this fabric that you print yourself very easily all over the place. And it comes on paperback sheets. Or actually, one of the things I didn't mention in the video is that you can make your own out of Reynolds paper if you care to put in the time. You can just iron 8x10 sheets of fabric onto Reynolds paper, the wax paper, and run that through your printer. And this one is just a black and white one that I was using as the sample in the video. So it's just got this border of black and white. And of course you can color this in with crayons and iron them to get rid of the wax, which gives a great color, or with pen, you know, any fabric markers. And then you just want to fold over the edges and iron them, and then you whip stitch it to your project. So yeah, quilt labeling is definitely something I'm very keen on. And our guild has just recently joined a quilt archiving project. I can't for the life of me remember the name of it because I can't remember anything. But it's a fascinating project. that seems to have a little bit of funding behind it, which is never a bad thing. I'm going to be doing a lot more hand sewing this month, or next month, I guess. I'm starting to teach a mending and hemming workshop in San Francisco. And I was getting ready to run some social media about it and see if I could prompt some sign-ups when they told me that the day after it went live, it sold out. So I'm going to say that the people of San Francisco want some hemming and mending. But there'll be other dates for that one in November and December. I'm very pleased that people are interested in repairing and mending clothing. So much of it is so badly made. Well, you get what you pay for, basically, don't you? So, but there are certainly, I tend to buy a lot of my, well, all my clothing on secondhand or in thrift stores or, used. And there are some brands like Shein or what's the other one I was looking at the other day? Anyway, there's some brands that I just won't buy, even if they look fine. I just know that they're going to fall apart really quickly because the fabric is just the worst quality. It amazed me the first time I saw dresses on sale for like $40 or $50 new, and they were made of lining fabric, the kind of polyester lining fabric that goes inside suits and coats and things. And of course, most people don't make clothes or don't sew, and they're not aware. To them, it's just like a nice shiny fabric at a reasonable price. Just trying to bury another knot here. It's fighting back. There we go. They don't realize that it's gonna fray like crazy, and even with a serged seam, that seam's gonna come apart after a couple of wears and washes. Right, so I came to the end of that purple. Where did I put there? So I'm on my 4th line of stitching now. And that's another great thing about Kawandi, is that each round gets shorter as you go towards the middle, which is a definite bonus. Because I enjoy every stitch, but it makes it feel like I'm speeding up. And of course, in the meantime, I've had 27 different ideas for what my next quilt should be, and I'm keen to get started. One thing I wanted to mention though, and the reason that this quilt is on the back here, in fact, this is a quilted coat I made, and I need to put the class up for that one. But I need to mention the Finish Along Club, which is going great guns. A lot of people out there wanting to finish their UFOs, unfinished objects, or their whips, their works in progress, or my personal favorite, their pigs, projects in grocery sacks. I only found out about that when I moved to America, because we don't call them grocery sacks in the UK. In fact, paper grocery bags are a relatively new introduction in the UK. We were all about our carrier bags, our plastic bags, and then they also have what are called bags for life. which, as they sound, are basically kind of much thicker plastic bags that are intended for multiple uses. And if a lot, I think, I don't know if they still do, but originally when they first launched them, they told you that if one of them did wear out, they would give you a replacement for free. But of course, this was in the pre-tote bag era, when now I'm sure we've all got 17 totes hanging by our front door, right? I actually developed a pattern recently. I don't see it. For making a little basket out of a canvas tote, which allows you to keep the motif, because often they're very pretty. It's just that you don't need another tote because you've already got 17. I don't know whether you need another basket either, but at least it's kind of one thing to do with all these totes that you continuously get given. The tote, this is a bit dark. We're coming to the end of the hour actually, but anyway, I'm sure if you know me, you know that darkness is not a deterrent. But back at the end of 2020, the pandemic is raging. We're all in lockdown. We've got our bubbles, which is just like the minimal number of people that we are allowed to see to stop us from going insane. And during this time, my life in the months before that had been rather turbulent because I'd left my husband, who, let's not talk about that. But I'd left my husband, I'd changed job, and I'd moved from San Francisco to Oakland. So I had a lot of stuff going on, and things seemed to have slightly stabilized. And so I finally booked the mammogram that I'd been putting off since the beginning of the year because there was a pandemic, and promptly discovered that I had breast cancer. And because I discovered this in October, it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And so they basically, it's so true that tragedy plus time equals comedy. But they basically said, you've got cancer. Here's a tote because it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And it had a little breast cancer emery board in it, and a breast cancer hand sanitizer pouch, and a breast cancer pen. And I remember leaving the hospital in a kind of state of a distraught state that I've never experienced before or since, where, I was on my own. There weren't that many people around because of pandemic and so on, but clutching this breast cancer goodie bag, it felt like I'd just won the least wanted prize in the world and just been given my award. Oh my goodness. Anyway, yes. So if you're ever diagnosed with breast cancer during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, look out for those goodies. What a world. Hmm? Anyway, there we go. There we go. Oops, I've lost a pen somewhere. Does not surprise me. I feel like sometimes it's like the crystal maze in here. Walking across open ground is a bit of a, you roll the dice, you take your chance, whether you're going to step on a pin. what am I doing here? Which way does this need to fold? It needs to fold that way. Because there's a way, like a direction that you need to follow at different points in the quilt with Kawandi. I definitely recommend looking it up and looking out for a class. I was wondering whether to teach it, but I don't want to be culturally insensitive. But then I know a lot of other people that are teaching it. But I think it's one of those times where you've got to think about how, you know, whether something feels right to you. So how much have I managed to do in this hour? I think I've done one round. So if you've been following along, you'll have seen me working on this quilt. And my name is B-E-A, B Byrne. So I basically have to spell both of them. Byrne is B-Y-R-N-E. And you can find me at bbyrne.com or at bbyrneartist on Facebook or Instagram. Oh, I didn't talk about the Finish Along Club. Or did I? I can't remember. I remember bringing it up and then forgetting to actually give any details. I went off on a tangent. I tangentified myself. So yes, if you are interested in getting to grips with your unfinished projects, your UFOs, that was it. I went off on a grocery sack tangent, which led me to tote bags and so on. Good God. The human brain, ladies and gentlemen, or at least my version of it. Anyway, yes, so if you are interested in getting to grips with your unfinished objects, I suggest you go along to quiltandlearn.com/finish, where you'll see that there is a finish week coming up, which I will start promoting in about 10 days. And that'll be a great chance to get to grips. It starts October 14th. And then the actual club, which I hope is linked to from the Finish Week page, and I need to check that, is quiltandlearn.com/FAL, Finish Along, FAL. And you get 1 month free. Although I wasn't planning to say this, but since it's you, I will say that if you are on my newsletter when it next goes out, which is on October 1st, then you could get 2 months free. You heard it here first. Have we heard the bells? That is my alarm telling me that we are at time. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to get in touch. bbyrne.com. All right. Bye, everyone.